What a great pleasure it is to welcome to the What's Next studios Dietlof Mare, who is the Group CEO of MAZIV, the company behind South Africa's largest open access networks, which include Vuma, DFA, and following the competition appeal. This is the big one, and I'm very excited to talk about this. The competition appeal court's approval of the MAZIV Vodacom merger transaction. MAZIV now enters a defining chapter in its journey to connect South Africans, and we know the incredible work that they've done up to this point and how much fiber is in the ground, how many South Africans are connected. We really are reliant on fiber, and we're going to be talking about what this merger means for MAZIV's growth, because I think that it unlocks a tremendous value with Vodacom and its role in accelerating fiber expansion, because there are still many underserved communities across the country and businesses, of course. And we know the difference that fiber will make in unlocking economic value in our country. So we're going to look at this and the company's priorities, because it costs a lot of money to lay fiber in the ground. And of course, Dietlof has been involved in this business. He knows this business backwards, Dietlof. I mean, we were talking just before the start. Of course, you are the chief executive officer of MAZIV, which is the parent company for Vuma and DFA, Dark Fiber Africa. But you've got a lot of experience in this business. I mean, you were with Vodacom in Africa many years ago. You're like a veteran in the business. Hey, I mean, how many years has it been that you've been
Listen,
in telecoms?
Aki, thank you. But nearly 30 years. I started with, I was at PwC when I studied at my articles, and we did the SA Post and Telecoms audit those years, and Vodacom then started from there, effectively. And I started at Vodacom in 1995,
Okay.
at beginning 1995, end 94. And listen, there were no mobile phones in South Africa, effectively. And
That's
then
right. That was the year that mobile phones were
it
introduced,
basically
right? Yeah.
started, yes. And listen, it was just this amazing journey because we connected and we did things differently. And then I went into Africa, Congo, Tanzania, Eastern Europe with Vodafone for a long time.
Yeah, where was it? Albania, I think.
Albania.
Albania, yeah.
So I was in the emerging markets of it. And what I loved about the emerging markets was this opportunity of changing lives. It was always, we could always make that difference.
Yes.
I mean, we talk digital divide today. If you look at the late 19s, early 2000s, people couldn't communicate into Africa, so it was impossible to do business in DRC.
Yes.
We couldn't even get fax machines to work, so they were still doing telegrams.
I think we had Sat1 or
Exactly.
Sat2 in those days.
And then we opened up, SMSs opened up, we launched M-Pesa in these countries, and suddenly people just could do business from Belgium, or, we could create distribution channels across. And that's that value of the closing that digital divide using technology.
Yes.
But still, remember, then technology was growing at a pace. We had 2G and then 3G and then 4G. But if you look at what pace this thing is growing at this point, if you look at AI, connectivity, where the world is going,
Completely.
it's completely different.
You see, I tell this to everybody that, you've been in the business for a long time, almost the same time as me, and I cannot keep up with the pace today because it's accelerating so fast that if you don't have what we're going to be talking about in place, then you're going to fall seriously behind, because all these things need that technology input.
Yeah.
The bandwidth through that connectivity is really a critical part of this whole thing. So I'm really glad you're with us, because this massive Vodacom merger transaction is really one of the most significant developments in South Africa. It's really, really massive in the telecoms industry. I don't think we've seen something like this in a very, very long time. How did we get to this point? Tell us about this journey, because it's been an incredible journey. You've been working on this for a long, long time, and this significant milestone. And tell us about what's next. Where are we? Paint the picture for us.
So I think, it was a 3-year journey, actually more than 3 years, but roughly 3-year journey. And firstly, it was tough. It was difficult. I think it was complex, lots of information, 18 requests for informations, thousands of papers and documents we had to prepare. So really, from a company point of view, it was super tough.
Was it the regulatory side that you had to get the?
It was the competition side,
competition
So really, I mean, it was, and remember, it's two big companies, it's two big players, it's a big merger, it's changing maybe the landscape of how things will happen in the future. So I think they, a lot of the competition had to look at it in detail,
Yes.
because remember it was complex.
Yeah.
But if you go look at it from a company point of view, it was tough. It did, it tied up resources on the one side, and then secondly, it slowed us down. It slowed us because we couldn't. Remember, we did it because we needed money, we needed capital,
Yes.
and we wanted to expand more and more, and the market's there, and we know. If you look at it from a purpose point of view and a company culture point of view, we believe in that, connecting South Africa and then changing lives.
Yeah.
And we had to sit back and say, listen, how do we do this? How do we still continue doing what we want to do? So we had lots of capital in the ground, over 40,000 kilometers of fiber just on the Vuma side, 15,000 kilometers on the DFA side.
Because when you talk about money, sorry to
That's
interrupt you there, it's what's sitting in the ground, and that's only going to realize the return on investment in, I don't know, what, 15 years, 20 years, however long it takes. But I mean, people think that, we've taken it for granted that we've got this high-speed connectivity, but to lay a kilometer of fiber is big money.
Big money, yes. It's big money, firstly, and it takes time to get a return on it, So we had to slow down our build. And we did slow down, and the whole industry slowed down.
Yeah.
And I think I've quoted a few times. I mean, we were nearly 400,000 homes in a quarter, and that slowed down a little bit, to 80,000. And but we had to slow down and change our strategy because of this time to focus then on uptake.
Yeah.
So we said, listen, let's drive the uptake leg of it more, but our expansion plans actually slowed down. And for me, that was the challenge, to say, listen, how do we change this whole mindset within the organization, still believing in connecting South Africa, making the impact, but on basically the network we've got.
Yeah.
So I think what happened, after the outcome, we still have to get ICASA approval, and that's more linked to basically the shareholding change in the license. So it's a little bit more license linked.
Okay.
And then you got the conditions backing it, so that we did on the in competition, and the appeal court obviously approved these conditions, and I think we had to get a balance between competition and the public interest side, and that's a very difficult thing to do, because the impact we have on the public interest side is phenomenal. That's where we're making the difference.
Yes.
And we had to get that balance between the competition concerns and this public interest concerns. And I think this case shows that the public interest side is a big chunk of what we want to try and do, and what South Africa has to do to change the lives of South Africa.
When you say public interest, is it like, people that say that are vested, they're saying, we want high-speed connectivity, we want fiber to come to our area. You are kind of, held back a little bit because of capital, et cetera, and you want to get to the rest of the country, and I'm sure other countries around us, sub-Saharan Africa. So, 40,000 kilometers that you've laid down, as you mentioned. How far does your network expand to? When you say 40,000 kilometers,
yeah, that's on the
as
fiber.
a place like Springbok got
No, at this point, no. So basically, what we started in the high LSM areas,
Yes.
which is your
business sense.
traditionally over 30,000 rand income sector a month.
That was Parkhurst.
That was Parkhurst, and Randburg, and Parkhurst was the first one.
Yeah.
Now there's about 2.2 million homes in that sector, and they penetrated at this point. So it's built. It's actually overbuilt. So of the 2.2 million homes, I think we've built 3.5 million homes, because there's two players in some of these towns, some of these areas. Then we did I think about 5 years ago, we started in Mitchell's Plain to say, listen, can we not get it to the previously underserved areas type of scenario?
And I think you were going to go over the air in that
We
area.
went a little bit aerial, some, but in Mitchell's we actually went, because of the soil. It was so easy to do, because it was very soft soil, so we could actually trench most of the network.
Yeah.
And it worked, so we covered Mitchell's, we built distribution within, we created businesses when we were supporting the network from within, and it was a phenomenal story. You look at the uptake, you look at the usage.
That's amazing.
It's phenomenal what's happening there. And what you now see is also businesses moving closer to those areas, like call centers. So people don't have to drive all the way into Cape Town. I mean, there are call centers now. People can actually do different businesses within the communities. But then it went from there to Soweto and Vosloorus.
Yes.
And we're covering Soweto, the whole of Soweto. Vosloorus, Soshanguve, You look at Danville, you look at Phoenix, Chatsworth. So we got 1 million covered, passed in those areas.
That's
So,
astonishing.
but we did it on prepaid, and that was the challenge. It was always collection risks. Nobody
Yeah.
wanted to go in there. The whole model if you go look at how the ISP model worked, it was there's big pressure on the debt collection and really getting the money into the system. And the prepaid helped it because suddenly, I mean, people were paying prepaid. We copied a
Accessible.
little bit what we did in mobile
Yeah.
a long time ago, and it opened it up. We were the first in, I think, the world that launched prepaid on fiber, and it opened it up. And suddenly this whole thing opened up, but it was still capital intensive.
Yes.
We need the capital
To go to all
to
of
go
those.
there.
And I think there have been some economic impact studies that have been done, like the Mitchell's Plain one. I'd love to see the economic value that it's unlocked in those communities, because that's just such a good example. It's such a feel-good story. But coming back to this merger transaction, I mean, it did raise a lot of questions about competition, fairness, open access. I think in today's age that you've got so many different operators all doing the same thing in the ground, it doesn't make sense from an economic point of view. But anyway, that's another story. But how are you ensuring as MAZIV that you deliver on both scale, impartiality in this particular market? Because it's a fine balancing act, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Listen, it's a fine balancing act. Our success, and I say this quite a bit, our success were based on three pillars, basically. It was good shareholders, and I think this deal supports that good shareholder thing. It puts a shareholder into the business that's serious, understands the market long term, and that's what South Africa needs. So I really think shareholder success, open access. That was our success story.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
didn't have an ISP. We still don't really have a big ISP. I will go into a little bit of ISP model. I did go into the ISP model a little bit on the prepaid side because I wanted to get closer to the end customer, just to understand what the end customer wants, because those
Yes.
markets are so diverse. It was always different because, remember, I worked through just the ISP channel. And
Yes.
it's difficult to actually understand the market if the market dynamically changes at the back. And that was why we started a prepaid ISP. But open access is the key thing. And then the next thing is we gave data in abundance. We never capped a service.
Yeah.
And that, you go look at one of the challenges in South Africa, it's data pricing.
Yes.
But you go look at people in the previously disadvantaged areas. I mean, they're using 400, 500 gigs a home now for 300 Rand, and 399 Rand. So if you really go look at the data cost per unit, it's going down radically. So the challenge for us is, how do we get this in the hands of everybody in South Africa?
Yeah.
And we won't be able to do it ourselves. The only way we're going to do this, if my competitors and the other F&Os and the other players build these quality services out on the back of anything, my prepaid platform or
Yeah.
our prepaid platform, that's not the issue. It's how do we get the capital structures right to actually get to these areas, like your Springbok, for instance,
Yes.
to make sure we get the solution to the people that really need it and where it'll make the biggest difference. Remember, you've got different options. Your data goes down, or you don't have access to. You've got 4 other solutions. You've got 5G in your house. You've got 2 different. But not all places have 5G. Not all places have got this data in abundance where they can have a quality connection where they can do their businesses from home. They need something structured from a quality point of view and a data availability, data and abundance point of view.
And it's going to be economically feasible.
Yeah,
Because, I mean, and that's the whole thing with, we talk about the mobile phone in Africa, critical, yes, but we need to get fiber in the ground. That's
Yeah.
the most critical part. So this merger, we talk about money and the capital that it's going to unlock. It's really going to enable MAZIV to really accelerate fiber extension to both homes and businesses in these areas. Um, how much expansion can you get? How much money is this going to? Because it's literally, if you were doing, how many homes did you say a month before in its peak, in your peak?
50,000,
In
roughly
the peak,
50,000.
and now you're doing,
We could do 50,000
Yeah.
homes past a month, yes.
and now what's it?
No,
now?
we had
Because-
no, zero.
yeah. So with this injection,
Yes.
you're going to go back to 50,000. Well,
We
maybe
can
even more.
definitely go. So if you look at our conditions, we committed to 1 million homes in a period. I want to obviously get more than that in a period, but I've committed to 1 million homes, spending 12 billion rands of
Wow.
capex, and of that 12 billion, 9 will go into new areas, building homes, infrastructure, a portion of that then will go into maintenance and rehabilitation of network. So we're really key on this. And you're 100% right. We need capital. First shareholders, then we need capital. That was the issue. That's why I stopped building, or we stopped building. So we're going to get the capital in. But then we're also getting something else in. We're getting assets from Vodacom in. So we're getting Vodacom's fiber to the home assets.
Oh, that's
nearly 160,000 homes. And we're getting 5,000 kilometers of Vodacom's metro fiber in.
yes.
And that immediately gives us then EBITDA. So it's businesses, so it's an EBITDA generator. So the two balancing acts in this whole model is EBITDA to debt. That's what people look at.
Okay.
Listen, how do you obviously after EBITDA there's interest, but people look at the EBITDA versus the debt, and the ratios and the banks look at these things. This deal helps us with the capital. We can pay back some debt. Our debt profile looks different, and we're getting this push onto the EBITDA thing into the P&L. And these assets coming across from Vodacom is for me significant firstly, but we're also opening those assets up, making it open access. So from a business point of view, all my ISPs and all my business ISPs can actually tie into that fiber. So they've got access to that 5,000 fiber, which opens up open access.
Yeah.
The same with the fiber to the home. Although fiber to the home for Vodacom was open access, I've got a big open access. All the ISPs on my network. So we've got a big ISP base.
Yes.
And all those homes will then have access to or the ISPs will have access to those homes.
But that's brilliant because, I mean, Vodacom's fiber network is massive as well. So you simply tap into their pipes and you can expand your network technically,
We're
right?
taking over their fiber.
Yeah, you're taking over there. How many kilometers does Vodacom have?
5,000 kilometers metro fiber, in
Yes.
businesses in the metro areas, and then 160,000 homes roughly on,
Okay.
which, I haven't calculated. It's about 3,000, 4,000 kilometers.
But what's significant about that, Dietlof, is that it's infrastructure that's already been done. And that in itself is quite an expensive part to do. As you mentioned, that's the most expensive part of laying fiber.
And remember, it's our core business.
Yeah.
We know how to monetize it. I think, listen, what Vodacom's also going to say, they know how to monetize it. I think, if we open it, we put it into our model, open it up to all the businesses, expand our network. We got existing customers really relying on our network across South Africa. It just opens it up. It takes the DFA network from 15,000 to 20,000, and then it adds another 3,000-4,000 kilometers on the Vuma fiber to the home side as well.
It's extraordinary. So these timelines are critical over here. So anybody that's watching this and they're saying, "Oh, please, I need you guys in my area," you're obviously going to prioritize new builds. What kind of timelines can consumers expect? You've still got a couple more hurdles. You mentioned the ICASA side that you've got to get this going and everything. But what are you looking as timelines to get this in an acceleration?
We need ICASA to approve. I think that's the first step.
Okay.
I don't think that will take too long, but we need that approval, obviously. Then we can start looking at the detail, So there's still sensitive information. We've got access to some information, but I'll take about 3 months to go look at the fiber assets coming into the network, into the MAZIV network. Then we will look at that quality of the network, see how we integrate them, and then we have to integrate them very, very fast. But my teams are ready to do it.
They've already done
well. Listen, I've got proper teams looking at this, and they've been waiting 3 years to do this. So the guys are quite excited to kick this off. Then it's basically getting the transaction done, having an implementation date, getting money to flow, and then it's business, So I'm going to build at least from a fiber to the home type of scenario. We're going to build at least 200,000 homes this year. We in process. I'm funding it through working capital at this point, free cash.
Yes.
But listen, it'll accelerate that a little bit. But I think if you look at early next financial year, so you're looking at April next year, we'll be running at speed, and that's what I would love to kick off. Areas that we will go into, obviously, I will look at my reach areas. My previously underserved areas. I will expand on that, try and see, listen, how do we get that out, take the reach into the key, which is a little bit of a different product, but getting it out into the outskirts of the reach areas. I think huge opportunities for me, if you ask me, is really getting into a lot of the towers still on the mobile side in South Africa is not linked to fiber. It's still microwave.
Okay.
And if you look at where technology is going with 5G and the
Yeah.
next technology is after 5G, they have to have access to fiber because those pipes are just the
Yeah.
amount of data going through
And the latency.
it's just, listen, it's you have to have the fiber link to it. But that's another, I would say, 40,000 kilometers of fiber we have to build in South Africa to get to that point. But imagine we can do that, how that opens up your Springboks and your places, because suddenly you'll have a fiber point in, a technology in overlay on 5G, but it also gives access to businesses and then to the fiber to the home scenarios where we can plug and play our technology solutions into it.
So, like, which provinces are really underserved? I would imagine Gauteng is pretty covered, most areas.
Yeah.
But like, if you look at like Limpopo and Northwest Province, Northern Cape, is there fiber to the main metros there?
No, sometimes. I mean, remember, OpenServe
Yes,
is
okay,
that
yeah.
traditional net.
But you'd go to those areas, right?
We will go to those areas. So underserved for me at this point, it's KZN a little bit. It's difficult to build. I think it was delayed a little bit.
Yeah.
You look at Eastern Cape a little bit, and it's
Yeah.
all linked to backhaul. It's all linked to, listen, the fiber pipes going into those areas. The market is so big at this point because you remember we've got 6 million homes with fiber passing it. At this point, there's 18 million homes.
Yes.
So if I have to pick where I put money, I'll put money in where my risk is the lowest, where it's the
course.
easiest to go. And that's the problem a little bit, because now you'll see the areas that have got fiber where it's working, that developing faster than places that actually need it more. And that balance we have to meet that balance and get to that scenario.
We're talking a lot about homes and that sort of thing, but business is the most critical part here. How does enterprise fiber fit into MAZIV's long-term growth strategy, and how will this support the economy? Because I imagine that there's tremendous value to be unlocked here.
There's tremendous value. And okay, if you look at it, we got two segments in our business. We got the enterprise and carrier segment.
Yes.
So we got the fiber to the home segment, which is your normal connection.
So the DFA side is more the
So the
business.
DFA is the business.
The business
Okay, and it overlays a little bit into the fiber to the home side, because as you go into areas like a Mitchells or a Soweto, you've got small businesses there, and they need a more quality service than just the best effort type of service. So if I look at the enterprise side, I agree with you. There's a massive opportunity here, and we look at it in three tiers. We firstly look at it, and I did speak about that a little bit, is we look at it from a tower point of view to say, listen, our fiber to the sites, that's the critical thing.
Yeah.
Because if that happens, and because that's where the big capital is, to say, listen, how do we get 5G to work across South Africa? Yeah. Then you look at the access side of it. You look at we spoke about it a bit earlier, as you look at this information and data coming into South Africa through the sea cables and the pipes. All that data has to be transported to data centers, and from the data centers to where people start using it, there and back. So the next step is, listen, how do we connect those data centers? And we do lots of that. And then the third pillar on this thing is business broadband. It's like business. How do you connect the businesses with? And you got two options there, with a little bit of a quality service where you guaranteed a quality service, or you go back to the fiber to the home type of model where it's best effort. Now, I believe in time, I cannot see that a business can go on a best effort. I would love to see that we push the businesses more to a little bit of a quality service, meaning there's a guaranteed MTTR, meantime to repair.
So the SLAs,
a little bit of an SLA to say, listen, how do I keep your line up within 8 hours or within 4 hours?
So you've got the ball rolling here, and I mean, I'm very excited for you. I can see the excitement in your face that this capital is going to unlock a lot of things for the company. But when you look 5 to 10 years, I know we've done very short a year look into 26, but this is a long-term play for you guys. Looking at 5 to 10 years ahead, what does success look like for MAZIV and the South African connectivity as a whole?
Connecting South Africa is number one. I would love to see that we get to most of the homes in South Africa, most of the businesses in South Africa, and we make that impact on people's lives where they can do things differently. We have to be competitive with the rest of the world. The only way we'll get this right if we create a connected South Africa.
No, we've got to.
And if you ask me what I see in 5 to 10 years, I believe we can get to a point where every business is connected. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Quality of service or best effort. But I believe in in 5 to 10 years from now, we must get to 12 million homes passed, 14 million homes passed, and of that, a connection rate of 60%. You know, so you sit there with a big chunk of South Africa being connected.
What percentage of the country is connected at the moment? Businesses?
No,
and
there's a
we haven't hit the 10% yet.
no. We basically we got 2 million homes really connected to 2.5 million homes.
So there is massive potential here.
Yeah.
I mean, to get to that 60%.
Yeah.
Dietlof, I love your passion, and I've been following you. We and I have had many chats over the years, and I'm just so with you and behind what you're doing. Dietlof Mare, the CEO of MAZIV, joining us to tell us about what this means for South Africa. And we need to embrace it as a country, because this is what economic growth is all about. This is how you unlock economic growth. I'm excited for what's to come. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.